Hi, this is the Stabilization Wedges, the Way to the Future film, my digital story on how to reduce carbon emissions and mitigate further climate change through the use of stabilization wedges theory, otherwise known as the carbon wedges theory. The world's climate is changing, and the changes will have an enormous impact on our planet's people, ecosystems, cities, and energy use. An average global air temperature already 1.5 degrees higher than they were at the start of the 20th century and have risen about 1 degree over just the last 30 years. According to the latest report from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, average global temperature are likely to rise by another 1.1 to 4.8 degrees Celsius by 2100. If we take aggressive action to reduce emissions, the temperature change could be modest. Most experts agree that the changes are anthropogenic, caused by humans, largely from emissions of heat-trapping gases released to the atmosphere when fossil fuels are burned. Carbon dioxide is the most significant of these gases. CO2 levels are at their highest in 650,000 years. How fast have emissions grown in recent years? Emissions of greenhouse gases have grown at an accelerating rate in recent years and decades. In 2011, the annual rate of emissions was about 54% higher than in 1990. Consequently, the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere has increased by 10% in the last 2 decades. There is a strong correlation between the rise in global temperature and the increasing concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Once released, greenhouse gases remain in the atmosphere until they are either absorbed by plants and animals or dissolved in the ocean. CO2 remains in the atmosphere for approximately 100 years, which is why it is so hard to reverse global warming. Where will the impact be the greatest? During the remainder of the century, different locations will experience different levels of increase in temperature, with the greatest impact toward the North Pole and the least increase toward the South Pole in the tropics. Greenland and the Arctic ice sheets have decreased in mass. Data from the NASA's Gravity Recovery and Climate Experiment show Greenland lost 150 to 250 cubic kilometers of ice per year between 2002 and 2006, while Antarctica lost about 152 cubic kilometers of ice between 2002 and 2005. What is global warming? Burning large amounts of fossil fuels, coal, oil and gas, heat-trapping gases to the atmosphere. The gases, especially like CO2, act like a blanket that retains heat and restricts the rate at which Earth's surface can radiate heat to space. At this point in the film, most of you people are asking, what are the solutions? And if there are any, what are they? Well, there is climate carbon wedges. The climate carbon wedges concept was introduced by 2 Princeton professors, Robert Socolow and Stephen Piccolo. These wedges describe a portfolio of energy technologies and choices about how we live that, when taken together, from wedges against increasing carbon emissions. In figure A, you can see the line in the graph goes up against the timeline, and if we continue with business as usual, otherwise termed as BAU, it will keep rising. However, in figure B, if we adopt a number of different non-fossil fuel energy technologies and make different choices about how we live, then the carbon emissions can be constrained and the line flattens out. So we need a number of carbon neutral for low emission technology wedges to bring the line on the graph back down to a point where carbon emissions are limited. The climate carbon wedges propose to limit atmospheric carbon dioxide to a concentration that would prevent even more damage through global warming. The current concentration of carbon dioxide is about 400 parts per million ppm. The goal is to stabilize carbon dioxide levels at around 500 parts per million or less than double the pre-industrial concentration of 280 parts per million. In terms of tackling climate change, there is a very real choice here between delay and action. None of the options are a pipe dream or an unproven idea, and we must choose to change from our fossil fuel addiction to move to more sustainable practices. South Korea is an Asian country situated southeast of Beijing across the Yellow Sea. Neighboring countries such as China, Russia, Japan, and North Korea. Korea's time zone is GMT plus 9 hours. Korea is also situated south of the 38th parallel. South Korea has a major city called Seoul. Population in Seoul is 10.4 million. Seoul also claimed to have the seat of government and commerce. Seoul's produce is 21% GDP of the total GDP in the country. Seoul, the capital, is a growing metropolis where there is a mix between modern skyscrapers, high-tech subways, and Buddhist temples. 70% of the Korean peninsula is mountainous. Mountain ranges stretch down the entire east coast. 81.5% of the national population live in urban areas. Cities have a high population density. Most of the population live around the Seoul to Busan corridor. 16.5% of the land is arable in climate change in South Korea and its South Korea's overall GHG, or greenhouse gases emissions in 2012 was 688,000 million tons of CO2. So what are the solutions to South Korea's increasing CO2 emissions and consequent climate change issues? Well, one proposed manifesto is wind power. The Korean government has recently announced the expansion plan for renewable energy sources that entails an increase of at least 20% in national installed generation capacity by 2027. Wind power is expected to be a particularly important part of this plan, and the fraction for wind power is planned to amount to 53% of the total renewable generation capacity in 2027, with an additional 1,250 megawatts each year of the wind farm projects that are already established, representing an generation capacity of 11,970 megawatts. 72% are situated in offshore areas. An example is the 2,500 megawatt offshore wind farm currently under construction in the southwest of the Korean peninsula. The investment totaled 9.2 trillion won of private and public joint funding. The area that will be occupied by the site is approximately 226 kilometers squared and is located 200 kilometers from the center of Seoul. South Korea also wants to become one of the 3 best world wind power generation countries. So the government has announced that the offshore wind farms that are going to be installed by 2019 will be capable of producing the same amount of electricity at 2 nuclear power plants. In 2013, 100 megawatts of electricity was generated thanks to wind farms with 20 turbines of 5 megawatts capacity each. Total capacity is expected to reach 900 megawatts by 2016 and 2,500 megawatts by 2019. It is estimated that South Korea has wind power potential of 186.5 trillion terawatt hours per year. In 2010, the installed capacity was about 350 megawatts. The evolution can be seen in this table that shows if the increased wind power generation continues, South Korea is about to get involved in a major way. The second renewable energy wedge is hydropower. The Korea just 1/3 of the economical potential has been stored, considering economically and environmentally realistic conditions. Countries could produce twice as much as they currently produce. The highest potential of hydroelectricity left is located in developing countries in Asia and Africa. Advantages to hydropower include energy is natural and green, no emissions of greenhouse gases are produced, and is cost effective. Hydroelectricity is currently the main renewable source of power generation, which accounts for 71.8% of renewable production, as shown on the graph. The third renewable resource, our wedge, is tidal or ocean-generated electricity. In using tidal power and its potential energy, electricity is created. The main advantage of such a production are the low price and the large size of production, and it is relatively clean. South Korea has built the largest tidal power plant in the world, the Siwa Lake plant. Its capacity is 254 megawatts and can generate 552 million kilowatts per hour per year, which represents enough energy to supply 500,000 houses in the capital of Seoul. As a consequence, the government has planned to reduce oil imports by 862,000 barrels, and such a power plant aims to reduce CO2 emissions by more than 300,000 tons. The figure below shows the plans for South Korea government for developing tidal power. Chilla Lake plant is the smallest of these planned. South Korea has a high tidal power potential on the entire west coast of the country. Unfortunately, environmental and ecological issues are slowing down development. The fourth renewable energy source, wedge, is solar power. In 2011, South Korea market of solar power represented a tiny part of the global market, approximately 0.1 gigawatts. The renewable energy target for solar photovoltaic was 1.3 million volts by 2012. An incredible project has been led successfully on the Korean island of Dongwon, on the western half of the Jeju-do island. This has been a technological feat. Total energy independence with clean technology. Each house has solar panels on it. If such a feat was able to be achieved in a city like Seoul, possibilities could be endless. The fifth renewable energy source, wedge, is geothermal energy. Geothermal energy is a clean and sustainable energy generated from heat deep below the Earth's surface. Geothermal energy plays a small part in South Korea's energy market. However, the country has a huge potential in geothermal energy. An American company called Atlas Rock Energy Inclusive is planning to invest 82 billion won, which is approximately $76 million, in the construction of a 3.5 megawatt electricity geothermal plant. The project also hopes to use new groundbreaking techniques of drilling called water hammer drilling, which is more efficient and cheaper. With this method, it will be possible to build deep geothermal power generators with a capacity of 50,000 megawatts by 2050. Economy Minister of South Korea declared in 2008 that biomass and bioenergy was going to be the most important and useful among new sources of renewable energy. In 2007, biomass as a proportion of renewable energy was about 6%, and the government wants to increase it to more than 30% by 2030. The forest represents 63% of the Korean landscape. In 2012, the government built 8 wood pellet plants for biomass production. The increase in South Korea wood pellet use is closely correlated to recent policy changes. The RPS, or Renewable Portfolio Standard, mandates that all power utilities with a capacity over 500 megawatts generate a certain percentage of the energy production from renewable sources annually. Hence, many of these companies have turned to wood pellet biomass, and consequently demand and supply has increased to a point where South Korea has become one of the biggest importers of wood pellets. The seventh renewable energy source, wedge, is South Korea has a huge potential in renewable energy and could further demand with such clean energies. They know how to exploit its potential. Investments are rising to provide green electricity production. The biggest challenge is to respond to the growing demand of energy from increasing population. There are 2 more people on Earth every second. To cope with that increase, countries and governments have changed their energy habits. Even if the Republic of Korea did not sign the Kyoto Protocol, they are ready to make efforts.
Thank you for watching.